You're such an asshole.
AssholeConsulting.com. If you have any questions, go there. And also visit our Daily Motion site as well, where we have our backup, more controversial videos posted in case the gooks decide that, whoa, you said something that hurt people's feelings. Delete. A young man writes, to start off, I know I fucked up. I lost my temper and antagonized my tech lead to the point where him and the project manager fired me. Good. I know you feel bad. This is your first job, though. It's good you got in their face. Down the road, when you are older, you'll be proud you did this. Because I wish I just ripped my boss's new ones. And there's never a better face. So I know you feel bad right now, but it is awesome to rip your boss's a new one. Even if you get fired in the end. Just like, because they've never... It's like spoiled southern debutantes at the debutante ball where you slap them across the face, fuck you. And they don't know how to handle it. My main question is, how do I find a job after this? Do I admit this place from my resume? If so, how should I explain the employment gap? A bit of history as to why this happened. I'm a software developer contractor who was overworked for 6 months. It started off with me having to learn Swift iOS despite being hired for Java, and then all of a sudden having only 6 weeks to make an application by myself. So they lied to you, okay? First, let's get rid of the guilt. They lied to you, right? Okay, this will set the tone. It is not, I'm here to help out the corporation. They want to fuck you over, and you got to fuck them over. It's really sad. It's really pathetic, but it's a lot like women. You have to treat them like shit, and you will do much better. I mean, you got to be mean, manipulative, I'd say even lying. That is what's going to get you further ahead in corporations and the employment world than being the good, reliable, all right? At least that's been my experience. But if it doesn't work for, being nice, okay, how's it working so far? You took them at their word and they fucking lied to you. And now you're working all this day. So you're not happy working 56 hours. During this time I was so stressed out. I yelled at my tech lead several times because he didn't understand any of the code we were writing. He was a complete idiot, but that's beside the point. Meanwhile, the testers, and other developers took like 2-hour lunches, hardly wrote any code, and took a lot of paid time off while I worked every lunch. Okay. Why didn't you just say, hey, you fuckers need me? I mean, now they're probably, if they were that dependent upon you, they're probably scrambling to find somebody else. Didn't help that many of them were part of an Indian clique who didn't speak English around each other. Pissed me off. That said, once I finished my 6-week project on time, they expect me to write another application from scratch in 6 weeks using a JavaScript framework. Well, here's a question. Did you tell them, look, it's not going to happen in 6 weeks? I mean, you have the right to draw your line and say, no, I'm not working. That's the funny thing about overtime is well, you got to work overtime. Like, no, you're going to pay me extra. Like I said, well, some overtime is going to be expected. Like, no, there's no overtime. Nope. I appreciate a healthy work-life balance. Because if chicks can say that, then, okay, right away. I mean, you could say that too. Just hold the line. You millennials can hold the line. That's why I wish Gen X did up against the baby boomers. Is we just told the baby boomer, no. Stop trying to prove yourself. Have self-respect. Every calorie of extra effort I put in to a salary position never went rewarded. They will simply take advantage of you, all right? You have to treat your time as the precious commodity is, a commodity. You would like my time, you will pay me money. And if you're not going to pay me money, then you don't get my time. Classic quote from Firefly. I do the job, then I get paid. That's it. That is the contract that you should have with any employer. Right? And this whole bullshit, the one thing I will respect the millennials for is that they are the byproduct of the baby boomer hypocrisy and work ethic that they brought them on. And so these baby boomers expect all these millennials and young people to bust their ass off and work. Millennials are like, fuck you, I'm living at home. It's like, hey, you guys deserve each other. This is great. So yeah, if they say, we need you to work 60 hours, we say, you're going to pay me time and a half, double time. All right? And by the way, it's not going to get done in 6 weeks unless you pay me extra. So you can always tell them no. I mean, then maybe they fire you and like, all right, fine, on top of this, they expected to spend 50% of my time adding features to the iOS app. Also finding the time in the 2-week sprint to set up a new tech stack on everyone's computers because I was one of 2 people on a team of 20 who understood it. Flipped out during sprint planning and escalated profanity, and since I was warned once before about my temper by the project manager, they fired me. Oh, so what? You got fired by a bunch of lying sacks of douches. And I'm not saying it to make you feel bad. I'm being honest. They lied to you about the job. All right? They lied to you. I have 2 questions. The more important one is, how do I move forward from being fired to continue to work in tech? All right. Well, here's the great thing about tech. Your skills are in more demand than you need a job. Okay? I know you need a job, but you should be able to find a job. I mean, what? You got 2 brand new programming languages, 2 new skill sets in 12 weeks. All right? So you have these skills now, and now you should be able to go out and find a job. It may not be grandiose or anything great, but you are in the field to get fired. It's like a doctor getting fired. You're kind of like, well, fuck you, I'm a doctor. I'll go find another place. All right? And I keep tabs on these guys and find out if they're even in business in the next couple of years. So, and the second is, we'll worry about that. But then we'll talk about more generally, how do you handle getting fired? How do you put that on your resume? I would do a 2-prong approach, because what I've learned about employers and corporations is they're lazy fucks. I mean, there was that guy who outsourced his job to China. I mean, they didn't catch him for years. Fucking hell. These corporations are lazy, they're dumb, and they're slow. And what I would do for at least half your resumes is never mention it. You only worked there for 6 months. This is your first job out of school. You could simply say, now I was at home, I needed to catch a breather, I just want to spend time with my family and work up a little bit of money, if you had a part-time job or whatever. And you were applying for jobs, you went on vacation, you saved up money, you went and you traveled around the United States, whatever fucking bullshit you got to tell them. You took a break after college. And then you came and you developed and you self-taught yourself these new skills. So, well, I don't see where you got this iOS Swift skills. Oh, I taught myself that application while I was taking a breather. I wanted to skill up a little bit. Look at the initiative on this guy. So don't list it there. It's very hard unless they pull like a criminal background or a full credit history. They get your bank records, which you could say, no, you're not getting my bank records. But it's very unlikely they're going to go and find, unless you tell them you worked at this place, that they're going to find that you worked at this place. All right. So I would just take it off your resume. That's what I would do. Because 6 months is actually nothing. That's nothing to worry about. If you insist on putting it in there because you want to be honest and forthright with all these corporations, just like they are their employees, you don't put your terminate. You just put start date, end date, and then you wait for them to ask, well, what happened there? Say, I was let go. And tell them what you learned. This is the advice they give. This is the squeaky clean. Say, yeah, I was let go. It didn't work out. I was overworked and da. You don't want to make it like you're sounding like a whiner, but present your case. But that's if they only ask you. But I would honestly say, knowing what I know now, I would not even bother listing it on your resume. And you're gonna have to accept the fact that some of them are gonna say, well, we did a background check. It says you worked here. Or, I know this guy, and he said he knew you. He says, yeah, you got me. All right, well then that's the way that job went. But you can rely. What I found is you can rely on the laziness and the unprofessionalism of corporations and employers and HR people more than you can being an honest, reliable. Again, it's just like girls. How do you get girls? Telling them the truth? Being an honest, good guy? Fuck no. Be an asshole. Be a douche. Lie your ass off. Tell them what they want to hear. Oh, yeah, you're the squeaky clean guy. You did this, you did that. You're kind of a badass too. Fuck. I mean, it's sad, but it's true. No one gets ahead telling the truth. No one gets ahead being a good guy. Be the jerk. Be the asshole. But in case your personalities don't jive with that, I would still, for now, send out 2 types of resumes. Keep them separate. Know which employers, which resume you sent. One, the honest one, where you have your 6 months listed there. And then one without that 6 months listed. That's what I would do. And then keep track. So when you go in an interview, you know that, oh yeah, they got this copy of my resume, and the other people got this copy of it. Because that happened to me one time. I sent a bogus resume to one, and they actually gave me the interview. And I was operating from a different resume. And she says, well, were you a finance director? I'm like, fuck, that's right. That's the resume I sent out. Like, oh yeah, I forgot about that. But that's the way that one went. But then sure enough, my bogus resume got me another job elsewhere. I mean, sadly, especially in finance, lying gets you ahead. So that's my advice to you. But try both so you kind of cover your bases. I can't guarantee you a job, but it's been my experience lying to employers and lying to corporations work a lot better. Anyway, best of luck to you. Tools. Oh, I'm sorry. Hang on. The second one is, how should I have done better aside from controlling my temper? Here's where you learn the art of not giving a shit. All right, and you should have Never let it got to this situation. You should have gone up to your project lead or your project manager and say, look, I can't work these many hours. I don't have the time. Or you say, here's my issues, here's my problems. Now, if they don't respond to that, you have to learn and say, okay, they're not going to change. This is out of my control. It's not fair. It doesn't make your situation any easier, but you getting all pissed off and yelling at them and screaming at them doesn't change the situation either. What you probably should have done is put in your 2 weeks notice, say, I'm giving you my 2 weeks notice. And you got to be willing to bluff, because in the end, you're going to get fired anyway, and you're going to be without a job. Here, you can actually bluff. You say, here's my 2 weeks notice, I'll see you, bye. And then they would have been like, what? Huh? So you go in, you try and reason, you try and rationalize with them. They don't listen. Then, like, okay, you see if you can tolerate the bullshit. See if you can ignore it and just kind of get your money, get your check, treat it like a job. It's not your career. You're not there. This is not your life. This is what pays you the money so you can have a life. But if it becomes intolerable, you simply say, I'm sorry, here's my 2 weeks notice, and I'll see you later, bye. And they'll say, where are you going? You say, I don't know. I'm going to go home. I'm going to go and live cheaply. I'm going to go work a security guard job. Now, the other thing you can do is you have another job on the side. This is why you always two-prong approach it. I always work security. Even to this day, I work security as a part-time gig for a buddy of mine. Now, I don't need it anymore, but it always allowed me the plan B, as did dance classes. I taught dance classes as well, that if my bosses ever got lippy or lied about a job description or anything like that, I could say, fuck you, I'm out of here. So that, I would say, is almost even more important than having some kind of mentality and learning how to control your anger. You'd never blow up at your boss until you're sure you got yourself another job, you got a plan B or whatever. And if you do blow up them, they're never going to give you a reference. But yeah, try not to yell at them. But what really helps keep the stress away is you always have, one, at least a 6-month supply of money. That really helps. And which takes a while to build up. But then two, you have some kind of part-time job on the back and you live minimalistically, so that part-time job can last you indefinitely. That will give you a supreme position to argue from the position of fuck you. Where if all of a sudden they're starting to be unfair, which they will be, and it will also calm you down. You won't get as stressed. You won't be yelling and cursing at these people. So that's what I would recommend. You have to always have a second part-time job that you're doing in the background. Preferably also entrepreneurship, so inevitably you can escape this bullshit. But yeah, you never have just one job, because then you're that person's bitch. You're that employer's bitch, and you never get into that position. So anyway, hope all that helps, and you learn from something. But yeah, I would not really, I'd send almost 80% of your resumes out without that fucking 6-month stint. Best of luck. Toodles.